Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroladaOfficial, and we continue with our 2025 astrology marathon. Today, my guest is astrologer Bianca from Greece. Hello, Bianca.
Hello, Lada. Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you again to do
Ah,
the world predictions for 2025.
yes, you've prepared for us very in-depth predictions. So,
Mhm.
everyone, get ready, take notes, maybe listen to this video in breaks because it will be long, but it will cover all the important topics. Thank you, Bianca, for taking your time to do this for us.
Sure. You're welcome. And yeah, actually, it was a good thing that you stressed to people to take notes as well, because I am going to mention a lot of information and dates as well. And the year is packed, so maybe people can go back and listen more than once. And okay, and before we start, let me mention that I'm also running a promotion until the 3rd of January, 20%. And everyone can find it on your website, astrolada.com. The links will be below the video. I will be mentioning it during the video as well. But let's get started, because we do have a lot to say, because everything about 2025 speaks about the end of an era and the beginning of a completely new one, and that's for everyone. And it's not a figurative kind of speech, it's quite literal, because it's kind of reasonable as well. If a new era is coming, it affects everyone, the entire humanity, all of us. And this is really wow. And the planetary alignments that form this year speak about this shift very powerfully. Even the new year begins with a new moon in Capricorn, which supports this notion. And I found this to be really quite appropriate. And it's huge, actually, the year, because we have not seen anything quite so important for thousands of years. And I dare say that this shift is only comparative to maybe the time that Jesus came to Earth, like 2,000 years ago, because
Wow.
it's really, I'm making this analogy just to draw attention to how rare this configuration and the shifts of energy that are happening is, and not because of religion. It's not related to that. It's just to draw attention to how rare it is and how big as well. But the truth is that, and I have searched like when these configurations or when these shifts of energies happen simultaneously, but since 500 before Christ, it has not happened. And even if it has happened before then, which was thousands of years ago, most importantly, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto were not in our awareness, even if this happened. So they were not in our conscience. So it was a totally different thing. And this is the first time that something so major and so rare is happening. And we can say it's historic, and it's happening during our time on Earth. I mean, we should all feel special that we're part of this pivotal transformation, this shift into the new era. And 2025, it's only the beginning of what is going to come. And for this reason, I think it's only appropriate to honor this in this video and in the analysis of 2025. And I feel that the most important with regard to the year is to pass along the message of the new era, so that as many people as possible are aware of what is going on and what is coming. And this year is packed of things. And in this general overview of 2025, I will give you a lot of information about the energies of the year and what they mean. And I will also give some specific dates as well. And I will break it down month by month at the end, because every single month in 2025 has something very important going on. And
I
some
know.
months are extra important. So it's going to be like a roller coaster. It's going to be continuous.
Can I ask you, why did you say you haven't seen anything like that since before Jesus? Is it because
Mhm.
all outer planets are moving in new signs? What is
That too, and it has not happened simultaneously to be at the same time and shifting at the same time, but also the very auspicious configuration that it started forming this year. Uranus, Pluto, it's a bissextile to Neptune and Saturn this year and next year. Later it will be just Neptune. But in air signs, and specifically in Gemini and Aquarius, it has never happened before, the Uranus-Pluto trine. I mean, during the time period that they have searched, and it's like 2,500 years.
And even if it happened, we were not responsive to those vibrations, like you said, because Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune were discovered in the last 200 years, and it means
Exactly.
consciousness was not responding.
And
Wow.
actually, the discovery of Neptune is very relevant to what is going on this year, as we will see down the
Can't
road.
wait to hear.
But Uranus and Pluto did have a trine, even though it was not a bissextile, but Pluto was in Libra at the time. So Uranus, that was in most recent years, let's say. Actually, the trine happens about every 80 years or so, but not in those signs, and not as a bissextile, and not together with everything else that is going on. So I will also look at the astrocartography at the end as well, but only a few events, because otherwise we would stay here until next year. So I kind of picked a few events to see by astrocartography and charts. So for this reason, because this is a really special year, it would be greatly appreciated if you share this video and contribute in your own way in passing on the message of the new era, so that it reaches as many people as possible, and we raise the vibration as well. And before diving into 2025, let me announce again that I'm running a promotion, 20% until the 3rd of January, and you can book your readings via AstroladaOfficial, and the links will be below. So now that we have gotten business out of the way, let's see what's going on. And the process has already started, of course, since the top big gun planet Pluto, which is less than a month ago, moved permanently into its new position in Aquarius, the sign of humanity. But all the other big guns are also getting ready to change signs and move ahead. And this will be shifting from feminine passive signs to masculine active signs. And this is really important because there is no such, there is so much shift in the energy, and we will definitely feel it. These are slow moving planets, and they have all been in feminine passive signs for a long time. And feminine energy is more passive, more reactive, or it doesn't act, it reacts. And masculine energy is the opposite. It's more active and it takes action. So the energy is shifting from passive to active. And the Aries energy will also be very strong this year. It's the sign of Aries is going to be very prominent because in the next few years, but especially this year, which adds to the feeling of urgency, the impatience, the urge to start something new, something pioneering that will have a strong foundation though, and it will also last because Saturn will be there as well. And the fact that the sign of Aries will be lit up means that Mars's role is very important this year, because Mars is a dispositor of the sign, is the ruler of Aries, so the dispositor of Saturn and Neptune, who will be in the sign, and actually and of the North Node for a little while longer. And Mars is the one who finally decides what happens. And Mars will spend half the year in Cancer and Leo, and from July onwards, it will cover the signs of Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, and the year in Capricorn. So I will start sharing the screen as well. So the Mars will start change when Mars starts changing signs. I cannot share. Okay. It will also impact the other planets in the other signs, and that's important. But could you give me permission to share the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you say Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune have never been in the three of them in auspicious aspect, looking in the last 2,000 years. This is crazy.
Yeah, At least I couldn't find any.
I know that in the year 500 BC, 550 BC, around the time Buddha came, that was the only time I could find Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune conjunct, all three of them. But nothing in between,
Yeah.
nothing, and never in a harmonious aspect.
Exactly. Yes, I couldn't find anything either. So, but I only checked back to 500 BC. My program wouldn't go further back.
Oh,
So
that's enough. 2,500 years.
yeah, and I'm sure again it will take thousands of years to repeat. So the Mars will not make important conjunctions during the year, but it will make significant squares and oppositions that are connected to cycles that began in 2024. And if you're interested in that, you can go back and listen to last year's annual predictions, because I focused a lot on Mars cycles. And those run for 2 years, so they are still running. And in 2024, Mars started quite a few important cycles that will reach milestone points in 2025. And the most important of those were the Mars-Pluto conjunction, the Mars-Uranus conjunction, the Mars-Saturn conjunction, the Mars-Neptune conjunction, Mars-Chiron conjunction, and the Mars-North Node conjunction. And during 2025, there will be important critical moments in those 2-year synodic cycles, and I will mention some of the dates shortly. But by September, Mars will make most of the oppositions and closing squares, which constitute critical moments in the cycles, and very few will happen in November and December. In October, Mars will not have any hard aspects. And oppositions are like full moons, and they behave like this. So they are moments of cultivation in the cycle, moments that things come to a head to resolve. So we can say that they are critical points. Tense points, there is polarization and crisis, and it's the midpoint of the cycle. So where some things come to full visibility, and it's time of conflicts and contradictions to get resolved. So it is likely that we will see escalation of global or regional conflicts, crisis in foreign relations, military, political, or economic showdowns, escalating tensions and disputes between nations, leaders, or social groups. In general, it is a time when agreements and alliances are going to be put to test. So, and there is a need to make practical decisions. We might see escalating social unrest and demonstrations, especially on social injustice issues. I lost my notes now. On social injustice issues, then maybe widespread social movements, because the public might demand accountability. Some things might happen and people might get angry, upset. They demand accountability from leaders. Major military operations. And historically, this phase of the Mars cycles coincided with crucial military decisions or battles. So we will see a shift in power dynamics due to geopolitical tensions, escalating aggression, new strategic alliances, negotiation of high-stake agreements, economic pressure and disruptions to the financial markets, instability, uncertainty, and conflict will impact trade, resources, or stock markets. Extreme weather conditions, such as major storms, earthquakes, or volcanic eruptions, can cause huge economic losses, which can lead to scarcity of resources. So issues such as oil, water, food shortages may come to the forefront. There could be extreme competition for dominance in critical technologies, but also technological breakthroughs due to the urgency of some matters. Like when COVID happened, it was urgent to come up with some kind of medicine or vaccines or something. So because of a situation that comes up, there is going to be an urgency, and we might see technological breakthroughs. World wars. Historically, many critical battles or escalations in global wars have occurred during major Mars oppositions. And closing squares are also important because they are also points of tension. There are again critical milestones in the cycle, and there are periods of tension where resolution in global dynamics might be required. They are often characterized by conflict, reassessment of strategies, and preparation for a new type of action. So the more or less these aspects more or less speak about the same things that I have already mentioned. So they kind of reinforce the meaning of the cycles that began last year and which, as I said, were building what's going to happen this year. The energy shifts of the year. Neptune will move into Aries. I'm losing my notes, that's why I'm stopping. Neptune will move into Aries, which is a fire sign. Uranus will move into Gemini, which is an air sign. Saturn will move into Aries, a fire sign. Jupiter is in an air sign for the first half of the year. Pluto has already moved into Aquarius, air sign. And because of this change, developments will be quite fast. This means that over the next 3 years, with 10 of May 2028 as a pinnacle, and there is a reason I mentioned this specific date, we will see so many changes coming about. Everything will unfold so quickly during this period, but even more so from the second half of 2026. Throughout 2025, the energy will be unstable because even though all the big guns will shift into fire and air signs, the constructive signs, and this is a really major shift, for the next year and a half, we're still going to have a little bit of water energy around for 3 reasons. Because both Saturn and Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces, because both Mercury and Venus will station retrograde in fire signs, and specifically in Aries together, but Mercury will station in other signs as well, but retrograde back into water signs. And only Mercury's retrograde in Leo in July will be fully in a fire sign. Because Jupiter will be in Cancer from 9th of June 2025 until the 30th of June 2026, a little more than a year. And of course, because the North Node will shift into Pisces for the next 18 months, which is also a water sign. So the water energy will be around until the North Node completes its tour into Pisces and Jupiter moves into fiery Leo. And that will happen next summer of 2026. Jupiter will leave Cancer and move into Leo on the 30th of June of 26, and it will be almost at the same time that the nodes will move into Aquarius Leo axis, and the nodes will shift on 26th of July 26. And that's huge as well, because the North Node not only will move into an air sign as well, but it's also the sign where Pluto is transiting. Jupiter will shift into the sign where the South Node will be and oppose Pluto as well. But for now, and for the year 25, I consider the fact that the North Node will be in Pisces for a while longer very significant, if not the most significant of the year, because it indicates that the path we should be on, it's a path of compassion, sensitivity, empathy, charity. The North Node in Pisces speaks about letting go, leaving things behind so that we can move forward, but doing that in practical way, because the South Node will be in Virgo, the sign of practicality. At the same time, Jupiter in Cancer indicates expansion or growth through home and family. And to me, this is an indication that families will need to be tightly together to face the challenges deriving from the transition from the old to the new era. This might mean that we will have to accept, give in, adapt, adjust, and not fight or resist the changes that are coming for humanity as a whole, because they are inevitable. Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 of Aries. So we see why 2025 and 2026 are directly related, just as 2024 was directly related to 2025. 2024 set up what will happen from 2025 onwards. Another major reason, which talks about big, radical, generational, and societal changes starting to happen in 2025-26, is that during the next couple of years, the first degrees of all the modalities will be very much affected. Why? Because the cardinal signs will be affected by Saturn Neptune conjunction, which will happen 0 to 2 degrees, and transit Neptune will cover the first 5 degrees of Aries, so it affects the cardinal signs. The fixed signs will be affected by Pluto, who will move for the next 2 years up to the 6th degree, 5.5 actually, and the mutable signs, which are affected by Uranus, which will also cover the first 5.5 degrees. Therefore, the early degrees of all the signs will be impacted quite strongly, especially the 0 degrees starting this year. But what does that mean? Planets at 0 degrees carry unique and powerful significance. First of all, they talk about new beginnings and fresh energy. So planets at 0 degrees of a sign, they are at the very beginning of their journey in the sign, and the position symbolizes new beginnings. It represents potential and excitement for growth and development. It's of major transitional significance. The 0 degree can mark a transition from the energy of the previous sign to the next one. And the planet, it's very strong, comes into new territory and will need time to evolve and get used to the energy. So outer planets at 0 degrees have a significant generational or societal impact. The third reason is that there is greater emphasis on the raw qualities of the sign, because the 0 degree is the purest degree of the sign. The energy has not been modified by other experiences. Actually, the first 2.5 degrees of any sign have the same decan as well as the same duad. So the energy of the sign is quite strong and focused on the energies that the sign represents. And in this case, Aries qualities. And there is a connection to the Aries point, 0 degree Aries, which is the world axis. And that means that there is a special connection to the outer world. Planets at 0 degrees or 0 degrees Aries, or which affect the whole axis, have a stronger impact on the collective and are connected to social trends or larger systems. So early degrees are all about learning, and the planet at 0 degrees is the beginner's mind mode. There is greater curiosity to learn, but there is no deep experience yet. So with these major shifts affecting the early degrees of all the signs, we all have something new to learn. And for some reason, the first decan of all the signs will go through major transformational phases over the next few years and up until 2028. The early degrees are the go-getters. They are the innovators, the front-runners, the leaders. Maybe they have been chosen to lead the way into the new era that will happen and will affect everyone, because a new era which begins at 0 degrees of Aries. And this is really wow. 0 Aries is the first degree of the zodiac. It's the beginning of the circle. It's like we have come full circle and we are starting fresh. And 0 Aries also represents the world axis. And whenever the world axis is triggered, it brings significant world events. So starting in 2025, but continuing in 2026, this degree will be triggered in a very powerful way several times. So we can expect pivotal, shocking, colossal, historic world events to happen starting 2025 And of course, many of these have been in the works for a while now, especially since 2020, when we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 Aquarius as well, and the Saturn and Saturn's and Neptune's presence in Pisces from 2023, when Saturn ingressed Pisces as well. But the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction was another major conjunction which happened at 0 degrees, and was also marked the shift of this conjunction from earth signs to air signs, and this will be going on for the next 200 years. From now on, every Jupiter-Saturn conjunction will be happening in air signs. And until from 1805, the last 200 years, it was happening in earth signs. And in 2020, it was the first time that the conjunction moved to air signs for good. There was one exception in, I think it was
98.
98, okay, which happened in Libra, I think, and that was to prepare for the shift to the air signs. Thank you, Lada. So, and this, it has not happened in air signs for 700 years, since the 14th century. So this shift was of major significance and is tightly connected to the shift of energies of fire and air signs that the new era we're heading into are colored by. And it's especially important because it happened in the sign of Aquarius as well, because it adds to the ongoing story that it's unfolding. And the connections are everywhere, I think. They go even further back to 2012, when Neptune first ingressed Pisces, but also to 2008, when Pluto ingressed Capricorn. A couple of weeks before Pluto went into Capricorn, the nodes had just finished their tour in the Pisces Virgo axis. That was the last time the nodes went through the same axis they will go now. And the axis that the nodes will move into in January is Pisces Virgo. So it seems that the stage of preparation is reaching an end. We are at the tail's end, and we're ready to move forward. The most important aspect of the year, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that will happen at the first degree of Aries this year, actually sextiles the degree of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which happened on the 21st of December, 2020. And this is really huge, very powerful trigger, because Neptune has not been in Aries for 163 years. Aquarius is the sign of the sun's detriment, so the sun there has got no light, and it cannot shine, but the nature of the sun is to shine. So the sun has got to give up its individuality for the sake of others, for the benefit of the community, for the benefit of the whole. And this is the meaning of Aquarius. And this is why the sun is in detriment in Aquarius, or in fall, in detriment. So apart from the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries, which speaks about letting go of the ego, the meaning of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 Aquarius actually becomes more clear. It probably also talked about letting go of the ego, about not being so self-centered, sun in detriment. And that was necessary in order to achieve meaningful and stable growth. Saturn and Neptune in Aries restrict and dissolve the ego and individuality. And we are at the moment in time when Saturn himself triggers the synodic cycle, which started with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, but he's not alone. He's in hand with Neptune, the planet of selflessness, of letting go, of surrendering, the planet of sacrifice. Therefore, this is another strong indication that we are at the moment in time when events that will happen and will start happening this year will kind of force us to become selfless, or to show deep compassion, but also to be of service to others, or offer our help to others selflessly without expecting anything in return. Events will force us to focus on others and not on ourselves. And this will not be easy though, but it's achievable through focus, concentration, discipline, and commitment, the qualities of Saturn. And this is extra highlighted by the fact that the nodes will move into Pisces also, the North Node actually, and the South Node in Virgo, and after 19 years, accentuating the same meanings. And let us not forget that the nodes will be the first to change signs quite early at the start of the year. And while the Mars-Pluto opposition is creating a configuration to them right on the world axis. So this is again a wow moment. And when the node crosses the world axis, we can expect faded, significant world events to happen, or events that significantly impact the collective.
And that's at the very start of the year, January.
Right, 11th of January, the true nodes, and the mean nodes on the 29th of January, which is also an important day, but I'm looking at the true nodes. The nodes of the moon, north and south, are associated with destiny, karma, and the evolution of collective consciousness. The north node represents forward momentum and growth, what humanity is collectively striving forward. The south node represents release the past and karmic patterns that need resolution. So with the nodes activating the world axis, the events triggered are not only significant, but are also tied to humanity's collective path forward and the lessons from our history, of our shared history, the karma we share. And historically, the nodes crossing the world axis has coincided with major global events, political shifts, revolutions, the rise and fall of leaders and dynasties, natural disasters, or phenomena that trigger large populations or impact large populations, technological breakthroughs, or cultural movements that mark a new era. So what can we expect when nodes cross zero Aries? Geopolitical, environmental, or social shifts which signal new eras or major turning points and change the collective direction. Revelation of karmic patterns, issues that have been long buried may now resurface for resolution on a global scale. Significant leadership changes, new initiatives, or new conflicts. Aries is about war. Awakening of the public consciousness as events during the time often grab global attention and serve as a wake-up call for collective awareness. More practically, this could be meaning the end of certain wars in some cases, especially on a local or national level, and or the start of beginning of new wars. We cannot escape that. Mars will be retrograde in Cancer until 24th of February. So some fighting, some past wars, past disputes might be reaching final stages, for example. They may be resolved. And some diplomatic efforts in that direction might be reaching a conclusion as well, because the South Node is in Libra still. But if that does not happen, the danger for a world war breaking out could become dramatically high. And this is not just because of Mars. Other significant things are going on that make me think that diplomatic efforts, peace negotiations on past disputes, past wars could be going on, and some of them can actually be resolved. But what leads me to this conclusion is that the first planet the North Node will meet after the shift to Pisces is Venus, followed by Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, Mercury, and shortly afterwards, the Sun. It will be a stellium conjunction, and this is so rare as well. I'm not even sure if it has ever happened before again. So a wow here is not enough, I think. The first eclipse of the year on the 14th of March will be a total lunar south node eclipse in Virgo. And it's opposing the total lunar north node eclipse in Pisces, which happened on the 18th of September, 2024. And south node eclipses are also about letting go, releasing old karmic patterns. And Virgo is also a sign of testing systems. But eclipses are about things being hidden, things that go on under the surface, things we're unaware of, and we find out about them later. We're missing information. And also, the eclipses mean that some situations might be eclipsing, meaning ending, being released. And events, as I said, come later, not at the time of the eclipse. So this could also mean that some negotiations or secret deals in the background mostly, because Venus, Mercury, Neptune energies can really confuse us as well, and they will be very strong and powerful. Mercury, Neptune can also be deception as well. Things being different than
Hello, Bianca. Sorry, something, the internet dropped.
Okay, that's all right. So Mercury will conjunct the node in Pisces, but when it retrogrades back, the aspect will not be exact, but it will be quite close. And retrogrades are all about rethinking, reevaluating, reassessing, going over past issues, and doing adjustments. So things will not go as we originally thought. It could mean that a peace deal or an agreement is reached, but it later falls out or something happens and adjustments are required. These energies will color February, March, April, and May quite strongly. And on 14th of April, the last planet the North Node will also conjunct is Saturn, the planet of permanency, restrictions, constraints. It's the planet of no, the planet of finality. So this is also an indication that the negotiations, if any ongoing negotiations, might end up falling through or failing, because the final Mars-Pluto position will happen on 28th of April as well, after the North Node Saturn conjunction. Therefore, there are strong indications that if any possible peace efforts fail, the consequence could be world war or the beginning of it, or something that will later escalate or develop into world war or extensive war nevertheless. The combination could also be talking to us about the fall of a powerful world leader or governments. Attacks or even assassination attempts on important leadership figures or famous personalities. Mars-Pluto, especially in opposition, is one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult, aggressive, violent aspect in astrology. It's brutal, aggressive energy, but also quite manipulative, controlling. It's about retaliation, blackmail, extortion, distraction. It talks about power games, extreme hunger for control and power. So we will see a lot of that going on February, March, April. Saturn will conjunct with Venus 3 times during the year as well, which might, again, it will happen in January, April. So it's during the same period. And Saturn-Venus conjunction could be talking about delays or obstacles to topics that fall under Venus domain. The first conjunction will happen on 19th of January in Pisces, the second on 7th of April with Venus retrograde, again in Pisces, and the third and final one on the 25th of April, again in Pisces. So all 3 will happen in Pisces. On a global level, this could be talking about economic hardships, economic losses, because Pisces is about losses, or it could be a point of regulations being imposed for bank deposits or bank transactions, for example, or banks might be fined for overcharging. Venus is exalted in Pisces. On another level, it could be a time of financial losses due to the dissolution of relationships. So starting January, but keep picking up in February and building up through March and April, we will see a lot of these things going on. And also the combination could be talking about some epidemic or viruses, because Neptune will be influencing all the personal planets.
Yes,
But
that's what I'm most worried for. Like you said, losses economic, but some exactly
for a
what
lot of different reasons, and because Uranus is also can be viruses, even artificially made. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of indications, and Pluto as well. Okay, it's a possibility, but it doesn't mean it will happen this year, but it can have a longer effect. So Venus is diplomacy, peace talks, Mercury is negotiation, Neptune is compassion, letting go, surrendering. The Node is a karmic fated point, a point of destiny. And this is really quite powerful for the collective and for the mission of humanity, for the direction that we should be going. And this has not happened for at least 18 years, since 2006, 2007, when the North Node was last in Pisces. But the North Node was not conjunct Neptune, has not conjuncted Neptune in Pisces since 1858. And this happened at 20 Pisces, 18th of January, 1858, which was actually quite important conjunction because it happened a few years after Neptune was discovered. And Neptune was discovered on 1846 while it was transiting Aquarius, and it was at 25.55 degrees 53 minutes of Aquarius when it was discovered. So therefore, Neptune, when it came into our awareness, it was in Aquarius, which is the strongest energy or the most powerful energy that we expect to see developing over the next year. How appropriate and how relevant to what is happening today. And the North Node, Neptune, is a much longer cycle if we take the sign that it happened into account. And in 1858, the cycle is now coming to an end. I will, however, mention also the last North Node Neptune conjunction as well as the last North Node Saturn conjunction, because they are very much part of the things that we're talking about, of the things that we expect to happen and which are related to possible meanings of the new era that is happening. Let me share the screen again, though, to show you some of the dates. Okay. So the Neptune node cycle is a 17-year cycle, while the Saturn node cycle is a 12-year cycle. And the last conjunction to Neptune happened on 28 April 2008 at 2402 Aquarius. And this was very near the degree that Neptune was actually discovered, which was very significant, I think. The conjunction with Saturn in the same sign is also very rare, and as rare as the conjunction to Neptune. And the reason is because the nodes have an 18-year cycle, while Saturn has a 29-year cycle. The nodes spend 18 months in each sign, while Saturn spends 2.5 to 3 years. So it's very difficult for them to happen to be in the same sign and to conjunct. And actually, the last time this happened was on the 2nd of March, 1877, at 10:47 Pisces. So it wasn't long after the North Node Neptune conjunction. Isn't this quite interesting? And the last conjunction in a different sign happened in September 2013 in Scorpio. 9 degrees 25 of Scorpio, the sign of radical transformation. Generally, the nodes don't conjunct often with the slow planets, and the last two significant node conjunctions were with Uranus in Taurus in July 22, and it was a triple conjunction with Mars, and with Jupiter, again in Taurus, on May 23. There were none in 2024 major conjunctions. And the one before 2022, it was happening in the year 2016. So that was 6 years before, and it was again to Jupiter. So it's important that we have these powerful conjunctions to Saturn and Neptune from the nodes this year. Conjunctions are important because they mark the beginnings of new synodic cycles, which are long, and events happen when other planets trigger. And Mars will trigger the nodes several times in 2025, both during the retrograde and again when moving direct. And that's why I already showed the aspects, because I think they're quite important. And it will also be the last personal planet to come into contact with the nodes after they conjunct the other personal planets we mentioned a short while ago. But on the 2nd of January, and shortly before returning to Cancer, which will happen on the 6th of January, the retrograde Mars will trine the nodes at 125 Leo Aries. And this is important because it's a repetition of the trine that took place on the 17th of November. Mars trined the nodes again, and it will happen one more time on the 8th of April, when the aspect repeats again for the third and final time with Mars direct. Oh, all of this is going to be happening right near your birthday, Lada, right? So you will have it in your solar return chart.
Yes.
Well, that's it's not bad, actually. I think it's very auspicious. So this combination will be one of the most significant times, and it will be shortly before Mars leaves Cancer to return to Leo, but it will be only after the nodes have shifted to the new axis. And it will happen at 26 degrees 19 minutes of the Cancer Pisces. A few weeks later, Mars will make a third and final opposition to Pluto from 348 Leo, and that will be on 28th of April. So let's look at the important node conjunctions this year. As I said, we won't have many, but I want to show you when they will happen. At 23rd of February, the North Node conjuncts Neptune. And on 14th of April, it's the conjunction to Saturn. And then we have the aspects of Mars to the nodes, which trigger. And those are happening on 22nd of July. The Mars opposes the North Node. 24th of November squares the node. These two are this year. And next year, on the 13th of March, we have the new conjunction. So it's a new synodic cycle, and will happen at the early degrees of Pisces. Actually, it's the degree where Saturn turned retrograde. And the square on the 2nd of July of 26. And on 15th of November, opposition again, but that's next year. So my conclusion is that world events and what happens worldwide or on a collective level, conflicts, if conflicts escalate and spread, it might meant to happen. And the South Node in Libra and the third node, the South and the North Node in Aries at the beginning of the year, which is a fighting sign, does not rule out this possibility that wars will escalate. And we will have one last eclipse in the sign of Aries as well. So the energies will be around for the entire year. Of course, we can go back in history to check what happened either 18 years ago or even 9 years ago when the nodes were in reversed positions, but they will not be exactly the same events, as the astrological circumstances were very different 19 years ago. And as I already explained, this is the very first time in thousands of years that all of these planetary shifts and the major planetary configuration are happening at the same time. So in my opinion, this is the key to interpret the meaning of all these powerful energies that will be going on the next 2 years. They are breakthrough changes breakthrough energies or changes always need to happen or start from cardinal signs the signs that initiate things. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, the beginning of the circle, when things begin. So it's a year during which the focus will be very much on the sign of Aries for several reasons, because Venus and Mercury will also retrograde in Aries, Saturn and Neptune will move into Aries, Mars, the ruler of Aries, will be retrograde until the 24th, and at the beginning of the year, it will also be in opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, and then it will retrograde back to Cancer, the sign of its fall, and will be there until 24th of February. But from Cancer, it will be squaring the sign of Aries and Chiron as well 3 times. And the Mars-Pluto opposition aspect will repeat again in April 1 more time. So in general, the sign of Aries will be very much triggered. And how amazing that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction will happen at the 0 degree, right at the beginning of the zodiac. Neptune will move into Aries on 30th of March until November, and Saturn on 25th of May until the 1st of September. And the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries definitely talks about new, enthusiastic, pioneering, visionary leaders, maybe young as well, because it's Aries, who will be in authority positions or will exercise authority, Saturn, by influencing the society and the public view, using technology and ultimately transforming humanity. And what does that sound like? It sounds like we will be seeing a lot of technology gurus and the so-called social media influencers being elected to authority positions or being appointed to government positions, a government made up of young influencers. I think this is one of the most important meanings of this conjunction, which does not work alone, but it's in combination with Uranus and Pluto Trine. And the preparation for this has definitely started a while back. The first blogs, a different form of influencers, started picking up around 2006, 2007, the last time the nodes were in the Pisces Virgo axis. And the nodes moved into Pisces on 20 June 2006. And Facebook first opened to the public in September 2006. So it was developed with the nodes in Aries. And Facebook changed the way people connected to each other. It kind of merged the world together, which is the meaning of Pisces, we're all one, and played a major role in what later was described as the influencers. Around 2009, 2010, YouTube and other social media started gaining significant traction as well. But it was after Neptune entered Pisces, the sign that it rules, and YouTube, the sign that rules YouTube, that the word influencers became widely used. And Neptune went into Pisces for the first time in April 2011 for a few months and permanently moved in February 2012. Uranus was also transiting Pisces during that time. Uranus was in Pisces from 2003 to 2011 and conjuncted with the North Node on 20 March 2007 at 15 degrees of Pisces. And this is really so amazing. And I thought of this because I have already seen this play out right before my eyes in my own country, because in June, when we had the European Parliament elections, a successful 24-year-old influencer who had absolutely no political background, no political experience, ran as an independent, and using social media managed to get 20% of the votes, by far the most voted candidate. And he got more than even established parties that have been around for decades. Actually,
Crazy.
Crazy, really. He got
We're seeing more and more of that. Power to the normal people.
Exactly. And actually, he came third place after the 2 big parties with 20%. So this was quite extraordinary. It has never happened before. And it was a great shock to the political system and to everyone, I think, and to especially to my country. But what this shows rather is that he paved the way for others to follow. Aries is leadership, and I believe, and he's also an Aries born on 10 of April. And I believe this is something that we will definitely see play out in the future. And I'm already seeing the signs of that. And the point is that the new generation of people born around the time the internet became available to the public and all the technological breakthroughs happened with the nodes transiting the world axis again, will now play a major role in this new era. And furthermore, people born in 1989 have Saturn Neptune conjunction in their chart. The conjunction happened at 10, 11 degrees of Capricorn. And actually, it happened 3 times, but this one was the most important. And the last eclipse that impacts the cardinal signs and closes the transit of the nodes through the Aries Libra axis will be on 29 March at 9 Aries and will be squaring this point of the conjunction. And shortly before the cycle ends, and it's an eclipse, so it's really huge. But the people who were born in 1998, 9 years later, especially in November 1998, were born at the first square point. And where did the first square happen? 29 degrees and 30 minutes of Capricorn. And that was the degree in the last degree of Capricorn, which was so much activated during 23 and 24, especially 24. And that cycle is about to end. So is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And I don't believe in coincidences anyway, but what it means is that a new generation of visionary leaders were born during that time, and they will now play an important role. The generation of people who were born between 1989 to 2002 especially, give or take a year or two, will be playing a major role in this transformation starting 2025. And in any case, the combination of the energies definitely talks about radical changes, modernization, updating of the way governments run, and who is in the government, who is running the show. And it will not be the conservative, traditional, strict authority system that we have gotten used to. It's going to be something totally different, unique. And who better to bring this on if not the people who were born during the time of these significant changes and who are now adults? Another possibility is that we might even see a universal government or a global government at some point in the future, or a modern type of government that can be applied worldwide. But this is not the only thing that Saturn conjunct Neptune in Aries talks about. Saturn in Aries together with Neptune can be talking about deaths from suffocation, restrictions because of poisonous gases that can pollute the environment, Earth, Saturn, water, Neptune. This can happen through war, Aries, or through explosions, or even natural phenomena. It could be talking about mass death due to biological, Neptune, weapons, Aries. It might be talking about new biological weapons. It might be the biological, Neptune, weapon, Aries, defense industry, Saturn, breaking new technological grounds, Uranus sextile from Gemini. Or it could be nuclear war. Someone might press the button or threaten to do so. On a more positive note, the combination of Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries with the North Node in Pisces, and after they both conjunct the nodes, can be indicating that we now get the chance to build up Saturn, the courage, Aries, that is required to conquer or overcome Aries and Saturn, our fears, our guilt, our addictions, our mental or health issues. Anything and everything that challenges us, confuses us, makes us sad, makes us vulnerable, by realizing, by gaining clarity, by seeing things clearly in their true dimensions, and seeing things for what they are and not through pink colored glasses. It's very important because that is the Neptune quality. And I think what this means practically is that a lot of people who have been living their lower vibration of Neptune and just wanted to follow the path of least resistance, or were living in their own little fantasy world, will be somehow awakened even suddenly and realize that there is a deeper, more significant meaning to what is going on. From a different perspective, it can be said that we as humanity, but also as individuals, might be given a chance for a complete reset, a completely fresh start. And it's like we're being given a final chance to reset and move forward with a clean slate. But to do that, we first need to let go of some things, close some cycles, and which has stopped serving us, and they are no longer useful. And this process has already started from last year, and we should have already, this year actually, 2024, and we should already have been thinking about it. Maybe it's time to pay off some accumulated karma and let it go, set it free. The process started since 2020. The return of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces before moving on to their new position again, because they will retrograde back into Pisces, speaks of a chance to tie loose ends, let go of things, take care of final details. It's again a final chance to do what we have to do. And we will have a year to do that, or maybe a bit more, until the third and final Saturn Neptune conjunction, which will happen on the 20th of February 26. But I would say more until the summer of 26, after Jupiter moves into Leo and the nodes move into Aquarius Leo as well. So it's up to us to take the opportunity that is being given to us. The next big shift happens on 7th of July, and that is when Uranus will shift into Gemini for the first time in 84 years, and will spend 4 months before in the sign until February, until finishing up its tour in Taurus next year. And this is a positive change for Uranus because it will move out of the sign of its fall and into an air sign, which is an intellectual sign. And Uranus in Gemini is definitely an upgrade. Uranus in Taurus, which is a financial sign, was difficult. We have seen the impact on the cost of living, on rent prices, on the cost of basic food, goods, resources, agriculture. We have seen demonstrations, farmers demonstrating, and everything that has happened with regard to the earth and pollution, environmental climate. There have been disruptions in the food supply chain, the economy, etc. And Uranus is an intellectual planet and is moving into an intellectual sign, a communication sign. Therefore, it will function well there. And Uranus is the breakthrough, the technology, the future. So we will see a lot of innovation and a lot of breakthroughs to Gemini matters, the way we travel, the way we communicate, the way we trade, the way we learn. All of these areas might be more tailored made to meet individual needs rather than applied across the spectrum. So we might see huge changes in the education system, huge changes in the way we travel and use our cars and phones. As soon as Uranus moves into Gemini, it will trine Pluto and sextile Saturn and Neptune in Aries, creating a bissextile with Saturn and Neptune on the apex. So this is very powerful, very auspicious, and this is what has not happened before also for thousands of years. And Uranus trines Pluto approximately every 80 years, but this is the first time this will happen in these signs. And the combination really speaks about the era of Aquarius that we're really heading towards to. And it is all about the technological advancements, technological transformation, robotics, the space industry, space exploration, artificial intelligence. It could be talking that technology will find ways to prolong human life. Whether this is good or bad, it remains to be seen. But in July, the first peak of the bissextile, which will be quite active the following years, will happen, and the Uranus Pluto trine will be exact a total of 5 times. Let me share the screen again to see when those will happen. Let me check. Okay, the Uranus Pluto trines. So in July, we have the first peak of the bissextile, and then the rest of the aspects will happen on 29th of November. 18th of July is the first, 29th of November, 15th of June, 27, 13th of January, 28, and 10th of May, 28. Even though it will happen, I mean, they will perfect 5 times, this configuration will be active for much longer because the planets will be quite close, but it may not be getting exact all the time, but it will still be working for a long time.
Do you think that because of those trines and sextiles, maybe we'll have all the worst will not happen? There is some kind of a protection on humanity?
There is definitely a protection as well, sure, going on. Not everything is bad, but because we don't have experience with what this means, it's really hard to make an accurate. We cannot go back and see what happened before and
Yes.
say something similar will happen. It's like a completely new situation. So, okay, let me, because I kind of lost my note. Where is it? Oh, okay. So the first the first thing that came to my mind as soon as I saw the bissextile and the energies of Uranus is that it talks about virtual reality, because it's Neptune is the virtual, Saturn is reality. In Aries, it can be talking about great leaps and great developments when it comes to virtual reality. So and AI is most about Pluto, artificial intelligence. I think it's more Pluto Uranus, Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. And those will be talking about breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and all that. But I think we are about to see a lot of simulation situations going on, or for testing purposes, experimentations, and different kinds of experiments going on because of the of Uranus energies in Gemini, and then bissextile with Saturn and Neptune. The combination also talks about nuclear war or even digital wars that lead to military coups. Easily, this could happen. Deception, poisoning, fraud, extreme fear, mourning because of losses or deaths. Saturn Neptune can be the Navy or Navy SEALs, especially in Aries. Secret underwater military sabotage operations. but also extremely destructive weather conditions such as super typhoons, mega hurricanes, or extremely hot weather and large-scale extreme fires, natural or other phenomena that cause chaos, depending on the hemisphere, of course. And Uranus in Gemini can be the sudden press of the button, Gemini. Pluto is war, but it's also mass destruction weapons. Neptune is the gas, the fumes, the smoke, the dissolution, toxic, poisonous fumes and gases. But Neptune will be together with Saturn. So this might be controlling it a little bit, holding it a bit together. It's also uniforms, people who wear uniforms, and firemen, security bodies, police, and Saturn is organization. So it could be talking about organized armies, official armies. Unfortunately, we cannot rule out the possibility that nuclear or biological or chemical weapons will be used extensively, and this might lead to stricter restrictions for uniformed people. The dissolution or shift of old military structures or organizations such as NATO is also possible. Every nuclear or even nuclear accidents or other types of accidents that can pollute waters or the sea or sea life, as well as affect shipping and sea transportation, are also possible. And new or quicker or longer sea transportation routes might need to be found because of different situations, such as conflicts involving warships, sim battles, even with the use of technology. And therefore, we might shipping transportation routes might need to be shifted. With Uranus and Pluto influence, there might be radical shifts and transformation in sea travel as well. If war happens, this is something that restrictions, limitations, rules, different ways of doing things are unavoidable. And other possibilities include military coups with the use of technological power or electronic warfare methods. Those are all quite possible, and the presence of Neptune actually adds to the significance of this, because Neptune is about deception, espionage, and even secret enemies. And usually, coups happen within the inner circle or from people whom you trust, people who are close to you, people we consider as allies, let's say, but in fact they are not. And there are people who deceive us, they sell us out, they are not who they appear to be. So we might see a lot of those things going on. And it might also mean that new regulations to combat electronic crime, electronic gambling might be put in place. New electronic currencies might be announced. Some electronic currencies might become more stable and also be used in businesses, Saturn. Maybe we will see the dissolution of traditional banks due to a rise in online banking, mobile banks, or even through the use of robots. Many jobs will disappear because of all these technological advancements during this period, and will be replaced by robots or technology. The use of technology will lead to government paying unemployment benefits, medical benefits, disabled benefits, etc. A massive cryptocurrency scandal or fraud or theft, or new types of currency might emerge. Some Eurozone countries, for example, might be decide to return to their own currency, and others might decide to join. The point is that there will be changes in this area. Power games, control, manipulation through the use of technology and social media that cause extreme fear to people. Also, the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence technology, or even dictators or groups with extreme belief systems, can again cause extreme fear to the collective. And even though the bissextile between Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune on the apex can be talking about compassion, empathy, protection, spirituality, at the same time, until 2026, 26, Saturn will be next to Neptune. So we will be seeing maybe a lot more cruelty going on, at least until February 2026 or more, until Saturn moves away from Neptune. On the other hand, because this conjunction happens at 0 degree of Aries, I think it's probably gonna characterize the entire cycle. It's a 35-year cycle. But it will, one way or another, it will make us be more compassionate and loving to each other. Let me turn off this. On the other hand, Neptune can be deceptive. Saturn is about authority figures. So it might be that those controlling the technology, the AI, etc., and they are exercising authority are not what they appear to be. They might be misleading. We may not be able to see them clearly. I guess what this means is that everyone will have their own opinion, as everyone sees things in from their own perspective and differently, because of Neptune as well. So it could be also that bluffing is going on among authority figures over Aries matters. For example, bluffing about war, conflicts, disputes, arguments, bluffing about solutions. We will see. Some might show full faith in new governments or in new or young authority figures and actually believe or imagine that they are the global rescuers, the global saviors, that they will be able to save the world. Governments who become Robin Hoods. Well, in most cases, Neptune disappoints and deceives, so I'm not sure, especially when it's not well placed and it's in folly. And Saturn is also not in a good place in Aries, so we will see if we will have some of those energies around as well. However, because the Saturn-Neptune conjunction will happen at 0 degrees, it's going to be lasting, it's going to have a longer influence, as I said. And in my opinion, the combination can also be talking about the rise of electronic wealth, cryptos, online trading with electronic currency or cryptos in everyday purchases. And I think this is one of the huge things we will see develop over the next few years, because Uranus will be in Gemini as well. And Gemini is the sign of trade, purchases, negotiations. So it relates directly to and totally to the new era, the era of Aquarius, the era of technology. Let us not forget that Jupiter is already trine Pluto as soon as it ingressed Gemini this year. And the Jupiter-Pluto cycle also started in 2020. Saturn with Neptune might mean that cryptos will no longer be strictly regulated. Electronic wallets can be the future. Pluto in Aquarius can mean a new way of humanity, for humanity to trade that can involve a global currency. Generally, a new way to do online trade. And this is another indication that we will be able to use Bitcoin or other cryptos for everyday exchanges. Because what is the concept of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general? It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system and decentralized digital currency. And guess what Aquarius means? And what Aquarius also means technology and decentralization, doing things on our own. But guess when Bitcoin was created? Yep, it was 2008. Is that a coincidence again? The concept was announced on 31st of October 2008, And the block 0 was mined on the 3rd of January 2009. I mean, it fits perfectly the Saturn Neptune conjunction and the nodes ingressing through the Pisces Virgo axis and then in Aquarius. So Aquarius leaves. So this marked the beginning of the era of the cryptocurrency. And when I read that, I was really amazed. It started with Pluto in Capricorn. It was as soon as Pluto went into Capricorn and was something new and powerful, but it will now become available to a lot more people with Pluto in Aquarius. Neptune also has to do with inflation and with oil supply. So more measures might need to be taken. There might be more control, or we might see some measures to control inflation. We might also see oil supplies being restricted, or attacks on oil refineries, or pipelines, etc. We may see a new generation of people who become wealthy via the use of technology, electronic currencies, online trade, and cryptos. And wealth could be changing hands, and some people might become mythically rich, Neptune. But the negative possibility of that is that crash and the cryptos or the value of the cryptos disappear, and many people lose everything and become poor. So there we might have wide fluctuations. These are quite possible because of the energy of the signs that are involved, fire and air, which are really unstable and change quickly. At least Pluto will be in a fixed sign, so that might be stabilizing things a little bit. But during the next years, we will witness huge inventions and discoveries in the medical field and healing as well. The use of technology and robotics will be much more widely used in medical treatments, and it might become standard practice, Saturn. Medical inventions regarding disabled people, tetraplegics, maybe prosthetics will become quite advanced, transplants, some like a more gruesome possibility is that because of all these wars are going on, a lot of people become amputees, and then technology is used to help these people. Maybe some drugs will be allowed, maybe new types of drugs will surface, new regulations regarding alcohol, substances. The way we go about our everyday life will also change, and it's quite possible that technology will help us a lot with everyday tasks, errands we have to do, etc. And therefore, we may have more time to use for ourselves, for relaxing, for sleeping, Neptune. But this can also be an illusion. We might think that technology helps us or saves us time and stuff, does a lot of our chores, but this is not really true. And we end up spending more time, or we're not gaining as much as we thought we did. It's like a big scam. So we might end up disappointed because our expectations were not real or were unfeasible. Space travel will advance beyond our imagination, and at the beginning we might see problems and delays, but then it will take off, and it's kind of like the space vision will become a reality, or space travel is going to become a business of the future, Saturn business. For example, a business organizing the space travel dream adventure for the mega rich, for example. It's definitely something that we could see. It's not that unbelievable. It's quite pioneering though, but it needs a lot of organization, diligence, caution, as well as innovation, vision, enthusiasm, and technology for something like this to take off. But we will also see many experiments involving space travel taking place. Volunteers can be taken to other planets to live in simulated conditions for various testing purposes. We will see a lot more common people participating in such expeditions or experiments, or being given the chance to participate in such adventures or such innovations. I'm sure we will see great leaps in this area in the coming years, and starting from this year, developments will be so fast that it will be hard to keep up, and this is already happening. I mean, a lot of people say that they cannot really keep up with everything that is going on, and I feel the same way sometimes, that technology is really running fast, but the pace is about to change and it will become much faster. So the beginning might be a bit slow or unstable, but later it will pretty soon it will pick up speed full head. On a more mundane level, the combination can be talking about extreme weather conditions, volcano explosions, really powerful winds, which can also be causing huge waves and causing a lot of destruction. We will also see a lot of demolitions, landslides, floods, mass deaths due to such phenomena. But also periods of great drought are possible because Neptune will be in a fire sign and Uranus in an air sign. Neptune is also art, so technology or AI will bring radical changes to the arts and the music industry in general. And the powerful who control technology will explore or will expose or defame or reveal scandals, will show the truth about some criminals. Or, for example, P. Diddy is represented by Neptune because he's a musician, and Uranus Pluto can be uncovering more details, more truth about the scandal he is being involved in. Or we might learn more scandals, more truths coming up about a lot of powerful people, that things that were hidden and going on under the surface. With Saturn in Aries, we may have to face the consequences of actions rather than escape through lies, deception, blackmail, extortion. New types of well-planned out terrorist attacks, cyber attacks, generally electronic attacks that might affect shipping, trade, military structures, cyber war. Terrorist attacks against power companies, causing large-scale blackouts involving electricity power, the internet, travel, education, communities. Terrorist attacks using new technologies on or super drones, or new powerful state-of-the-art weapons on military ships. We may see television stations, talk shows, parliaments, organizations exercising control through the use of social media, YouTube, etc., or discussing such issues, or being attacked, restrictions or regulations on YouTube or social media in general. We have already seen this taking place in Australia, which recently approved the ban of social media for teenagers under the age of 16. So we will see a lot more things like that happening. Also, a ban of mobile phones at schools, it's another, falls under the same domain. Maybe the movie industry will be making much more use of technology, of AI, and of virtual reality as well, in films, fashion shows as well, concerts. We might see a lot more holograms or concerts with people who passed, famous singers who passed, virtual reality. A lot more than what we have seen so far, and a lot more advanced. It's very likely that we will see a rise in fake news as well, or new ways, Aries, of presenting fake news, or we might see fake news being exposed, regulations being adapted to deal with this phenomenon are also quite possible, or teaching people Saturn, educating them on how to identify fake Neptune news, etc., on the internet. And another positive expression is that we will see sudden radical changes to spirituality, the sciences, and astrology. Overall, these energies will intensify intuition and instinct, and a lot of people might become more aware of their intuition, their spirituality, their instinct. With regard to the astrology community, it might play out two ways. Either people will stop believing it and think it's a scam, but I think that's not what's going to happen. The other possibility is that people might be really awakened to astrology, to the power of astrology, and how accurate and really amazing astrology is, and will be awakened to it and start learning more about it. The combination supports online spiritual businesses becoming more stable or regulated too. The most scary for me is that the combination actually talks about technology becoming so advanced that at some level they will be able to be reading our thoughts, our minds. And this, I find this really scary. It could be killing our dreams. We may not be able to hide the truth any longer of what is on our minds. If our minds be read, this could have certain advantages, such as it might be really good when it comes to solving crimes or in police work. But other than that, I find it really scary. The energies will be playing out in Aries, Gemini, and Aquarius mostly. And Aries and Gemini are quite fast signs. So things will be developing quite fast, but Aquarius is a fixed sign, and Pluto is the strongest planet, so Pluto has the final word here. And the bissextile between these three planets, which actually started in August 23, when Neptune was at the peak of a kite, it started building up, and we have seen some things related to that. I mean, algorithms are a lot more specific and precise in what they show us on the internet, like certain advertisements that are related to things we are talking about or we're seeing online. So this will become even more advanced. So August 23 was a pivotal month as well, because it was the period when the nodes ingressed the Aries Libra axis shortly after. So the nodes went into Aries Libra in July. So it has started building up since that time. Even though it's an auspicious and rare configuration, I'm not saying that it will be easy, because the outer planets and Saturn are powerful energies. So anything, the energies are unavoidable. We're on for the ride. But now let us go through the timeline quickly of the events, breaking it down month by month. I will show this chart for the new year. So I casted a chart for the 1st of January at midnight, because it gives us, it talks about the energies of the year. Let me see though, let me choose the correct, okay. Okay. So this is a chart for the year, casted for midnight universal time. And the chart speaks to us about the major energies and the influences of the year. It gives us a backdrop energy that will relate to the collective. And it's really powerful. Let me begin. Okay, I already mentioned the two eclipses that will be triggered early in the year. It's the 18th September total lunar eclipse in Pisces, and the 2 October eclipse at the 9 Aries. So this chart has an ascendant in Libra, 7 degrees of Libra, but both the Moon and Mars are out of bounds, which gives them this unpredictable, unstable energy. And the Sun is always in Capricorn at this time of the year, and it's very much to do about tradition, stability, the more material world, and it's the sign of the physical combination. But the day before the new year, we had a new moon in Capricorn. So on the 1st of January, the moon has moved a little bit, but it's still in Capricorn. And this is rare. We don't always have the moon in the same sign as the Sun at the beginning of the year. And the moon in Capricorn is not in its best position. The moon is the ruler of Cancer, and it's all about nurturing, caring, protecting. The sign of Capricorn is very business-like, but throughout 2025, we might appreciate more some of the traditions, the more stable structure that holds everything together. We may need to take it slow and demonstrate patience. And this can be frustrating, especially if we want to make a fresh start. But we need to remember that stability and past experience are very important as well. The moon in Capricorn can also be very much about properties, so issues related to that can be coming up as well. The cost of properties, rents, real estate prices, but also the availability. Capricorn can be about the supply, real estate properties, rentals, etc. They may not be available to all. Jupiter is square to Saturn. Jupiter is square to Saturn, which can also be talking about the same things. There is an imbalance going on between demand, Jupiter, and supply, Saturn. The square will perfect once more in June with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, which is actually the sign related to real estate, homes, and properties. And Saturn will be in Aries. So there could be arguments in society about this discrepancy. Jupiter square Saturn can also be quite pessimistic. There is a conflict, a disagreement between restriction and cautiousness and expansion. Jupiter is retrograde, so we do need to take things slow or with more caution. And the positive side is that Jupiter retrograde in Gemini might be able to focus more on the details and small print than it otherwise does. Mercury and Jupiter are in mutual reception, but they are opposing each other. So this is an indication that decisions to expand or grow need to be decided slowly with care and caution. And in this chart, Mars is retrograde and in a tight applying opposition to Pluto. And as I have said, it is out of bound, which makes it extremely unpredictable, aggressive, impulsive, and reactive. And in my opinion, this could be even more important than anything we spoke with so far, because Mars, Pluto are really dangerous, violent energies. And because the sign of Aries will be so prominent this year, and Mars is the ruler, whatever Mars is doing is quite relevant and significant. And Mars starts the year retrograde and in a tight opposition to Pluto and out of bounds. Red flags all over. So this could be talking about past wars and efforts to resolve them. Mercury opposition Jupiter, square Saturn in Pisces. These are the two rulers of Scorpio, and they are opposing each other, creating conflict and friction. And Scorpio is the sign of transition, death and transformation, critical situations, and radical changes. Scorpio is very deep, it's black or white, it's very obsessive, it's manipulative and controlling. It's also about control and power. It's relentless willpower, actually, ruthless control. So on a personal level, it's about willpower, extreme willpower. But both planets are very violent, so especially if we are affected on a personal level, be very careful. This aspect will characterize the entire year, and it's really raw, violent, brutal, dominating, ruthless energies, especially being at early degrees, which are more powerful degrees. So it can be talking about wars, And Mars retrograde is very important because it suggests that whatever we want, whatever we go after, whatever happens might take longer than expected to achieve, or there might be changes and adjustments needed to it. And whenever wars start with Mars retrograde, usually they don't go well. The moon is in a sign that is about safety and security. Saturn is the dispositor of Capricorn and therefore of the moon, and is squaring the Jupiter, who is retrograde. So this also suggests that we need to go slower. The Mars-Pluto position also, it's a warlike energy. So the topic of wars, violent conflicts, violent disputes will be a major topic, and it might bring terrorist attacks, assassination attempts, new powerful mass destruction weapons, cyber attacks, extensive large-scale power cuts, destructiveness, volcano eruptions, extreme weather conditions. The combination could be talking about the people, moon, suffering because of wars and economic hardships, extreme weather conditions, maybe lack of jobs as well. There are more indications about financial instability or even instability in relationships, business partnerships, and one-to-one connections, because Venus, which is the ruler of the chart for the universal time, and also the ruler of the South Node in Libra in this chart, is in Aquarius and is in a separating square to Uranus, which is retrograde in Taurus. So we have another mutual reception here, but the rulers of the two signs are clashing. And Venus-Uranus indicates instability, unpredictability, sudden events, hardships, extreme weather conditions too. It's expected the unexpected. When Uranus turns direct and reaches 27 degrees of Taurus, it will trigger the aspect again, and that will happen around May. So these are strong indications that the year will be quite volatile, unpredictable, shocking. There can be sudden, exciting connections created, but they may not be long-lasting. New alliances can be formed and others can break up. For example, economic alliances or economic groups might suddenly break up or suddenly expand. For example, the BRICS, the Eurozone, the IMF, G7, such organizations, which are economic organizations, might go through sudden changes or adjustments or even breakups. So the combination of all the energies really talk about the year with lots of ups and downs. And let's look at the North Node ingress. Here I have the astrocartography. Okay, since this came up, let's look at the astrocartography for a few minutes. These are the countries that are affected by the chart for the year. You can look at it later at your own convenience. So, because if I go through it, it will take a long time. Let's look at the North Node in Pisces. I will just mention a few things about this chart, which is the most important event of the year, as I have already explained. And the node will ingress on the 11th of January. And in this chart, the nodes are at, actually, no, I was talking about the previous chart. I'm sorry. I'm still at this chart, and the nodes are at the first degree of Aries. I will look at the other one shortly. So this means that, and they are forming a sextile to Pluto and a trine to Mars. So Mars disposes the North Node. So it's a very dynamic combination, and will also be very much triggered by Saturn, Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. Now let's look at the nodes in Pisces. The important thing is that the angles are exactly the same or very close to the angles of the chart for the year, which is means that they two are very much connected. And Mars is also opposing the Sun-Pluto midpoint, which can also be a rather strong indication of assassination attempts or attacks against powerful world leaders or even opposition leaders, because it's in the fourth house. Mercury is on the IC for this chart, which affects especially England as well, because it's Greenwich time, but it's for the world in general. So we might be hearing a lot of discussions about properties, lands, territories, and about opposition leaders as well. And Mercury on the IC basically creates a grand cross with the angles and triggers the chart for the year as well. And here again is the astrocartography, and I have included the countries that are affected by the nodes ingressing. And these countries are very much affected from Neptune and the North Node, so there might be floods, etc. The rest of the countries they are in this astrocartography chart, but the other lines cross. And this is a chart for the Mars opposition Pluto, but I just wanted to mention a few of the countries that it's impacting. LA, California, Vancouver, Poland is very important. The Scandinavian countries, Denmark, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Italy, Greece, Finland, Norway, Sweden, China, Bangladesh, Nepal, Mexico, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela are very much affected by the Mars opposition Pluto, but for the 3rd of January, these countries. I didn't include for the later opposition. And finally, let's look at the main events for the year quickly. Okay. I may mention a few more than what I have written down in the slides, but these are the most important. So Mars, on the 3rd of January, Mars opposes Pluto at 1 degree 8 minutes of Leo Aquarius. On the 6th of January, Mars returns to Cancer. 12th of January, the North Node enters Pisces. On the 13th of January, we have a full moon at 23:59 Cancer, which is a sensitive degree of the cardinal signs, because the nodes were there. We had eclipses, we had new moons, full moons happening near those degrees. So those are very sensitive degrees of the cardinal signs. Venus enters the shadow period on the 28th of January. On the 29th of January, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Aquarius, which is close to Pluto. And on the 30th of January, Uranus stations direct at 23:15 minutes of Taurus. In February, on the 7th of February, we have Neptune conjuncting the North Node. On the 12th of February, a full moon at 24:05 Leo, which squares Uranus. So it's going to be very unpredictable and shocking events we can expect. On the 24th of February, Mars stations direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. And on 28th of February, there is a new moon at 9 degrees, 40 minutes of Pisces. In March, the 1st of March, we have Mercury entering the shadow period. Then on the 2nd of March, we have Venus stationing retrograde at 10 degrees 50 minutes of Aries. Again, a sensitive degree of the cardinal sign. The 2nd of October 2024 eclipse happened at 9 of Aries, so it's a major trigger, and Venus will station retrograde. So it's going to be impacting for a while. On the 14th of March, a total lunar eclipse at 23:56 of Virgo, and it triggers the 18th September total lunar eclipse, which was in Pisces, conjunct Neptune. And on a world level, this can be talking about heavy rainfall, bad weather conditions, landslides, collapse of bridges, problems in sea transportation, floods. Maybe an event takes place that affects shipping or sea transportation, or it might cause delays, having to take longer routes, and this can cause shipping costs to rise. Eclipses are always related to extreme weather conditions by nature anyway. On the 15th of March, we have Mercury stationing retrograde, also at 9 degrees of Aries, the sensitive degrees of the cardinal signs. Again, triggers the eclipse of the 2nd of October. On 20th of March, we have the spring equinox, and the spring equinox is an important moment in time which is connected to the summer solstice. Therefore, the chart of the equinox gives us indications as to what we can expect for the next 3 months. It's a 13-week period of new beginnings and initiation, and the spring equinox will take place in the middle of 2 important eclipses, which means that the sun and the moon will be squaring. So this could indicate tension over the next 3 months until the 22nd of June. On 27th of March, we have Venus retrograde returning to Pisces. And on 28th March, we have a solar eclipse, a partial solar eclipse at 8:59 Aries. Again, the 9 Aries is the degree where Mercury and Venus will retrograde, and the degree of the last eclipse on the 2nd of October. The second eclipse of the month will be a solar eclipse in Aries, and it's very much connected to the 2nd October 24 eclipse, but it's also related to the 7 October eclipse in 2023. So it is related to events or situations that happened around that time. And the 2nd of October eclipse took place at 10 Libra. So this eclipse opposes it. On a world level, on around 7 October 23, the Israel-Hamas war started, while on the 2nd of October 24, we had Iran's retaliation response to Israel for the deaths of the Hamas leader and the Hezbollah leader, and terrorist attacks in Israel. So it was a quite significant point at the Israel-Hamas war. So there could be developments regarding this conflict. On the 30th of March, Mercury will retrograde, will return to Pisces and conjunct Neptune as well. On the same day that Mercury returns to Pisces, Neptune enters Aries and then will conjunct. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction is part of the eclipse. So the end of the month stands out as Neptune moves into Aries for the first time in 163 years. And it will spend almost 8 months in Aries until November and return to Pisces for a short while before returning to Aries permanently next year. So this is important to not only because it doesn't happen every day, but it's also important because Neptune will leave the sign of its rulership and enter a fire sign in which it does not feel very good, so it does not feel comfortable. So it's more unstable. So there are a lot of events in March. April, on the 7th of April, you have Mercury stationing direct at 26:49 Pisces. And I would like to make particular reference to 4th to 7th April and the stellium in Pisces, because it will be a quadruple conjunction with Venus retrograde, Saturn, North Node, and Mercury stationing direct. Venus-Saturn conjunction at 25 Pisces triggers the eclipse point of 18 September 24. And Venus is also very slow because on 13th of April, it will turn direct at 24:37 Pisces. So April is very prominent this year as well. And it's very strong, it has a very strong full moon on the 13th of April. It contains a grand cross, but we also have Mars preparing to oppose Pluto for the third time. And Saturn is also within 5 degrees from the conjunction to Neptune at 0 Aries. On 18 April, Mars returns to Leo. On 21st of April, Saturn conjuncts North Node at 26:50 minutes of Pisces. On the 26th of April, Mercury shadow period ends at 9:35 Aries. And on the 27th of April, we have a new moon at 7 degrees 46 Taurus. 27 April, the same day, Mars opposes Pluto at 3 degrees, almost 4 degrees from Leo to Aquarius. And on the 30th of April, Venus returns to Aries. Again, a full month. So many things going on. Let's move to May. Second of May, Mars shadow period ends at 6:10 Leo, and Mars shadow period began on the 4th of October at 17 Cancer. On the 12th of May, we have a full moon at 22 degrees of Scorpio, and this is the point, is the degree opposing the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which happened on 23 degrees of Taurus on 20 April 24. So it's very much related to that. And Jupiter-Uranus spoke about sudden windfall, sudden luck. On the 16th of May, Venus ends its shadow period at 10 degrees of Aries. 18th of May, Jupiter squares the North Node at 22 Gemini Pisces and triggers the 18 September eclipse. And it's a very important trigger. On the 25th of May, Saturn ingresses Aries and triggers the world axis as well. And the 27th of May, there is a new moon at 6 degrees of Gemini. In June, we have Jupiter. On the 9th of June, Jupiter ingresses Cancer and activates the world axis as well by square. On the 11th of June, we have a full moon at 20 degrees 38 Sagittarius. And it's very close to the ascendant of the United States at 13 degrees Sagittarius. And a lot of the full moon and new moons that will happen in the summer are affecting or impacting the USA chart. On the 15th of June, Mars squares Uranus at 28 Leo Taurus. Again, it's quite important because Donald Trump has Mars at 29 Leo as well, and it's critical point. On 15th of June, Jupiter squares Saturn at 1:19 Cancer Aries. On 17th of June, Mars ingresses Virgo. On 19th of June, Jupiter squares Neptune from the 2nd degree of Cancer Aries. And Jupiter Neptune can be also talking about epidemics and expansion of viruses or some kind of virus situation. On 21st of June, we have the summer solstice. On the 25th of June, there is a new moon at 4 degrees of Cancer and squaring Saturn Neptune. On the 30th of June, Mercury shadow period begins at 4 degrees of Leo in opposition to Pluto. July. So every month we see that a lot of things are going on and really important things as well. 7th of July, Uranus ingresses Gemini. 10th of July, we have a full moon at 19 degrees of Capricorn, which is again a sensitive degree of the cardinal signs that a lot of eclipses and synodic cycles were happening. It was very near the point of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction as well in 2020. 18 July, Mercury stations retrograde at 15 Leo. 21 of July, Mars opposition North Node at 19 Virgo Pisces. This is important because it's the point of the Jupiter-Saturn square as well. And Mars transits USA's 7th house and creates a wide grand cross with the ascendant. So this is a quite important trigger, and it's gonna be impacting the, I think it's gonna be in the solar return chart for the year too. And the aggressive energy will be influencing the entire year. On 24th of July, then we have a new moon at 2 degrees of Leo in opposition to Pluto. So this is almost like a repetition of the Mars opposition Pluto at the beginning of the year. And Sun opposition Pluto can be talking about the death of a prominent world leader, a prominent personality, someone famous. It also talks about power games, control games, and it's quite manipulative, controlling energy that will play out during the whole cycle. August. On the 7th of August, Mars ingresses Libra and activates the world axis by opposition. On the 9th of August, Mars opposes Saturn at 1 degree 20 minutes of Libra Aries. That's important as well. On the 9th of August, we have a full moon at 17 degrees of Aquarius. 10th of August, Mars opposition Neptune, almost 2 degrees Libra Aries. On the 11th of August, we have Mercury stationing direct at 4 degrees of Leo, opposing Pluto again. 23.
Bianca, your sound is gone. Still gone.
Can you hear me now?
Something with the microphone maybe, or
What about now?
no, nothing.
Now?
Nothing. No.
Okay, give me a second. Okay. Let me share the screen again. Okay, we're in August, and okay, sorry about this. We had a bit of a technical problem, but we continue. So I was saying that accidents are possible in August because of the energies, or it could be talking about sudden breakout of some viruses or some stress-related health issues. And on the 25th of August, Mercury shadow period ends in Leo. Let's go to September, which is again a very full month packed. On the 1st of September, we have Saturn retrograde returning to Pisces. On the 5th of September, we have Mars squaring Jupiter at 1835 Libra Cancer, again affecting the sensitive degrees of the cardinal signs.
6th of September, Uranus stationing retrograde at 1.5 degrees of Gemini, and until February 26th, it will be retrograde. 7th of September, we have a lunar eclipse at 1522 Pisces. It's a grand cross with natal ascendant, Mars opposition, and triggers the USA solar return chart as well. And it's a repetition of the total lunar eclipse of 18 September 24, but on a different degree. On the 21st of September, we have a solar eclipse at 29 Virgo, which is a partial solar eclipse, but it's in opposition to Saturn and the North Node, and triggers again the 18 September eclipse, which happened on 25 Pisces, conjunct Neptune. So it's possible that the Virgo new moon solar eclipse could see some people struggle a little with their energy or with some health issues. And it's a critical degree, and it's an opposition. So, okay, we need to be a little bit careful. It's a combo that could be talking about an epidemic or something that spread of some viruses or some flare-up of autoimmune diseases. 22nd of September, we have the fall equinox, the day after the eclipse. The sun at zero Libra will form a grand trine to Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. An air grand trine is all about ideas, innovation, technological advancements, and collaborations. 22nd of September, Mars returns to Scorpio and squares Pluto as well at 127 Scorpio Aquarius. In October, we have a full moon at 14 Aries, a new moon at 28-21 Libra. Mercury shadow period begins in 21 October at 20 Scorpio. 22nd of October, Neptune retrograde returns to Pisces. 21st of October, we have a Libra new moon at 20 Libra, squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, it's out of sign square, but still works. And a square to Pluto is a challenge, especially if it's a new moon square to Pluto. It colors the next 4 weeks. And Pluto is about power, about transformation, deconstruction. It's the planet of final endings and closures. So it's we might see certain relationships, partnerships, or alliances that have run their course to come to an end for good. On 22nd of October, Neptune returns to Pisces, joining Saturn and the North Node. And on 29 October, we have Mercury moving into Sagittarius. November, we have 4th of November, Mars ingresses Sagittarius as well. Also opposes Uranus in Gemini as soon as it goes into Sagittarius. 5 of November, we have a full moon at 13 Taurus. On the 8th of November, Uranus retrograde returns to Taurus. And 9th of November, Mercury station retrogrades at 6 Sagittarius. This is the degree that it's stationed on 15 December 24. I mean, right now is the degree that is going to station to turn direct on the 15th of December. 19th of November, Mercury retrograde returns to Scorpio. On 20th of November, we have a new moon at 28 degrees Scorpio, conjuncting Mercury, opposition Uranus. Again, it's a stressful, nervous energy, difficult decisions might need to be taken. Could be about financial matters. It's the financial axis. On the 24th of November, we have Mars squares the North Node at 14 Sagittarius and Pisces. Again, this is very important for the USA because it will be sitting on the ascendant of the USA chart and on the apex of a T-square with the nodes. So November is very important for the United States. 29th of November, Mercury stations direct at 20 Scorpio. And it seems that November triggers very much the chart of the United States. And finally, December 25, I think it's the first. Okay. So December, 4th of December, full moon at 14th Gemini, squaring the USA ascendant again. 9th of December, Mars square Saturn at 25 Sagittarius, Pisces, again triggers the 18th September 24 lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces. On the 10th of December, Neptune stations direct at 29 Pisces, very close to the cardinal axis. 14th December, Mars squares Neptune at 29 Sagittarius Pisces, again very close to the world axis. On the 15th of December, Mars ingresses Capricorn and triggers the world axis. On 17 December, Mercury shadow period ends at 6:51 Sagittarius. On 20 December, we have a new moon at 28 something Sagittarius square Saturn Neptune in Pisces. And on 21 of December, we have the winter solstice. And that is not easy at all, actually. It's really a tough one. And it may mean that some issues that we have been dealing with can really get amplified, and we need to find ways to deal with the challenges, because we may run into certain obstacles. And this brings us to the end of our analysis for 2025. As I warned you at the beginning, this was really big one.
Thank you so much, Bianca.
But it's a very rare
It's a
year,
whole
so
book. I hope people are taking pictures of those slides to know the
yeah.
dates and
Yeah, I'm sure they can do that, take screenshots so they can study the charts better and the astrocartography as well.
I can
So
see how much work has gone into that. Incredible. And you gave us predictions not just for next year, but for many years ahead, what the results of those
yeah,
changes will be. Thank you so much for the hard work,
thank
for the
you as well.
incredible insights. And again, if anyone wants to contact Bianca, I'm putting a link below in the description. You can connect with her. I saw her in real life this summer when we had the retreat 2024 in Bulgaria, and Bianca was answering direct questions to every participant, looking at their chart and telling them. I just love how immediately you look at the chart and see what's happening, what is activating when. That was a great
Yeah.
experience. Thank you again. And wow, what a year. Do you have
Yeah.
something like a summary, something you want to tell us with a few sentences for the whole year?
Well, the summary is that this is the beginning of a new era. It's really important for all of us. So we all need to, I think this year's New Year's resolutions are actually quite important. And it's a time that we really do need to make New Year's resolutions, even if in the past we weren't making. And be prepared that things are changing, and it's best to just go with the flow than resist the changes, because there is no turning back. We're on for the ride.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bianca.
Thank you
Have
too,
a wonderful
Lada. Wishing
2025.
Happy New Year to everyone, to you and your family, and all the best.
Thank you to you too. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.